Rapid growth of innovation in technology has pushed the schools to apply educational technologies in many aspects of teaching and learning. The main purpose of these innovations is promoting students' engagement in learning activities and facilitating teaching through interactive tools. But in reality, those technologies are rarely used effectively in their defined purposes. We are living in the digital era, while the next generation are still educating in traditional ways. Even in those schools that are equipped by educational technologies, there are some barriers that do not let them to implement technology effectively in learning process. Many literatures and studies have been done to figure out what are the main reasons why we don't see the result we expected from those innovations. I reviewed some of those studies and used both quantitative and qualitative research methods to collect valuable data and analyze them. I looked to find barriers of adopting technology in teaching and learning and figure out how to overcome them. I looked to see what others have done in this subject matter. I reviewed empirical researches and practices that others have tried before and offered some ideas to answer the main question. Toward this, Erdmer classifies barriers in two primary categories: extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic barriers include lack of resources, inadequate training, insufficient technical support, and lack of time. Intrinsic barriers include teachers' beliefs and visions concerning technology integration and views about teaching, learning, and knowledge. The most important barrier to adopting technology into education is the lack of sufficient training. Teachers are the key of successful implementation of technology in the classroom, but many of them are reluctant to adopt technology because they are not adequately prepared to use it. To implement technology effectively, stakeholders must change the school's culture. To change the school's culture, we must focus on needs and prepare teachers for 21st century skills. Teachers have considerable influence in successful technology integration. By focusing on teachers' needs, we can prepare them for new methods of teaching, while training enables educators and key users to know and use all advantages that educational technology offers and enhances teachers' competencies and confidence. The other significant barrier is the lack of enough time. Teachers have limited time to cover all learning materials. 50 minutes class session is not enough time for all students to interact effectively with educational devices. And teachers are not able to implement course module completely if they spend parts of the class time for utilizing technology, especially in public schools that each class has 20 to 25 students. When teachers become able to implement technology in their classroom, they make learning more interesting and learnable for the students and promote their engagement in the innovative ways. In one of my courses, in instructional design, I designed an instruction based on Dick and Curry instructional design model for 11th grade high school students for a history class. Dick and Curry instructional design model is a systematic approach to design lesson and instruction that meets learners' needs. This model includes 9 components in interrelated steps. The purpose of designing the instruction was to transform traditional way of learning history by integrating technology to make it more attractive and engaging activities. Learning history by reading heavy books and memorizing historical events has always been a big challenge for students. According to Fleming and Mill's work model, we all have different learning style preferences. The four sensory learning modalities are visual, auditory, reading and writing, and kinesthetic. Every person may have preferred style to learn or have combination of several learning modalities. According to Zhang and Bong, multimedia applications can best address these learning preferences in education, because educational technology designers consider these learning styles in designing emerging technologies. Upon successful completion of my instruction, students were able to introduce one of the famous artists, poets, writers, musicians, or scholars of Harlem Renaissance period, and present their understanding of this historical and cultural explosion by searching and exploring in authentic resources and using PowerPoint software to present their understanding to their peers. First, I did a goal analysis and determined the major steps and subordinate skills. For next step, I analyzed learners. I interviewed my learners who were 11th grade students. They all had access to computer and were interested to be more familiar with this historical and cultural explosion. Based on my observation, after interviewing one of the students and a history teacher, I found that my learners almost didn't have any previous knowledge about Harlem Renaissance. They had some experience in creating videos and other multimedia projects. Learners were interested in working on projects that gets them more involved with technology. Then I wrote my performance objective and assessed it by asking an English teacher to look at my instruction and other materials and evaluate it. She left comments on my one-to-one questionnaire which should be changed. She recommended that documents were too much and it is better to eliminate some parts and summarize them in few words, and just give object steps to learner target. She suggested that resource is not enough and it would be appropriate if I provide some more resources. So I developed more instructional materials. I created an online resource in ThinkLink and provided relevant resources for subject to give learners quick access to authentic resources. The instruction gives students flexibility to choose information that they feel are important and relevant to the subject. Students are able to interact with the instructional materials available in reliable and authentic online resources, either ThinkLink or HRC website. After revising instruction and completing materials, the next step was small group evaluation. I gave revised materials and questionnaire to 2 groups of 3 and 8 students and asked them to complete the questionnaire and evaluate my instruction. They were chosen from average students and already have mastered entry skills. Based on their feedbacks, I revised the instruction and eliminated some data in steps 2 and 3, and instead of 7 slides, I changed it to 5 slides. I changed student grouping to group of 3 instead of individualized. Now my final instruction was ready to implement. The other component of my capstone project was multimedia project that are created by incorporating variety of technologies and following appropriate design principles. Those multimedia products are digital storytelling, websites, and some screencasts. In course 7358, Instructional Uses of Digital Storytelling, I have learned how to use multimedia tools and integrate them in an instruction. I chose the same historical subject as my project in Instructional Design course and created a digital storytelling of one of the Harlem Renaissance poet and authors, Zora Neale Hurston, as an example of integrating technology into education. This digital story is developed based on planning a specification in my instructional design document. For this project, I created a storyboard by using PowerPoint, which is a friendly software. I made sure that the images I use are public domain or licensed under Creative Commons and are free of copyright restriction. The other educational multimedia products that I explored to complete this project were Audacity to edit narration and add background music, and vVideo to edit and create the video. Integrating technology into education revolutionizes teaching outcomes and learning performances. The point is that if technology be adapted successfully and teachers become aware of its advantages, then the technology will help them to save time and enhance students' engagement. However, utilizing educational technologies in classroom is not as simple as we can assume. It needs collaboration of all education community members, including educators, students, school administration and district, and parents. My plan for future is to do more research to figure out how to overcome those barriers of adopting technologies in the 21st century classrooms. As the first step, I have been the first author of one of the chapters of a book, namely Ubiquitous Inclusive Learning in a Digital Era. This chapter explores current research and practice in video-based discussion in online higher education courses and describes lessons learned through an action research study on the application of Flipgrid, a video-based discussion platform, as part of online course experiences. The result of the study shows that the video-based discussion promotes presence through interactions in online higher education courses. In order to prepare our next generation for 21st century real-life challenges, educational leaders and key users should have a fundamental understanding of educational values of technology. Otherwise, technology will be left behind in all aspects of education.